Welcome to session 1 of the 7x7 video series for the CHAMP SOCOM Spiritual Fitness Scale, which, by the way, we will mostly refer to as the SFS from now on. As you can see from the talking points listed in section 1 of your resource book, this session is dedicated to helping you understand the general methodology of the SFS development project. First, we might remember that the SFS is a metrical scale. After all, the word scale is represented by the last S in the SFS. It is a spiritual fitness scale. What is a metrical scale in the social sciences? How is it different than a questionnaire that anyone might develop, even in a single afternoon, that might help them to receive feedback on a topic or product in order to drive decision-making? That's a great question. In short, in the social sciences, when we speak about a metrical scale, we're talking about a quantifiable measurement tool that's been carefully proven to be both reliable and valid. Let's take each of those 2 points in turn. Reliability refers to consistency. When we purchase a tape measure, we don't want it to measure inches differently each time. Similarly, if we're seeking to build a metrical scale, it must prove consistent enough so that when it is replicated in a given population, we can expect to find similar readings or a similar range of readings. There are correlative tests to determine reliability. The SFS performed very well on 2 of them, and you can see the results of these tests on a table in your resource book. The table shows numbers from the Cronbach's alpha measure and the Cronbach's omega measure, run by our team at USIS and also by our partners at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. What you're typically looking for on those tests are numbers higher than 0.68. Okay, let's turn to validity. Validity refers to whether or not a test measures what it claims to measure. We need to ensure that a metric meets its purpose within its population and that it's constructed properly. That is, we know exactly what we're measuring and how. This is remarkably difficult. It's what separates most questionnaires and surveys from metrical scales. In the case of the SFS, we were attempting to measure spiritual fitness in the military. We knew of the framework for spiritual fitness, disseminated in the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Instruction on Total Force Fitness. And we knew of the framework for spiritual performance, disseminated in the U.S. Special Operations Command Directive. Sources for finding both of these instructions can be found in your resource book, by the way. By carefully reflecting on these frameworks, we knew we would need to incorporate both theists and non-theists, and everyone in between, in our metric. We also knew we would need to have an operationalized or operationalizable touchstone with military performance. That is, we would need to be able to approach and measure some aspect of spirituality related to service. For instance, a spiritual commitment to serving other people. We took a hard look at every available scale in the public domain, peer-reviewed journals, that is, since about 1960, and we found no existing scale that would be valid in our domain of spiritual fitness in the military. Remember that in order to be valid, a metric must meet a specific purpose within a specific population and that it must be constructed properly. Because no existing metric met our specific purpose within our specific population, it was going to be up to us to construct something new and to do it properly. That construction process took years, and we would definitely not have done it if we had any other choice. Although we don't have time right now to discuss the entire construction process, I'll give you a brief overview here to end this session. The full methodology report can be found in our middle article listed on the final page of the resource book entitled The SOCOM Spiritual Fitness Scale, Measuring Vertical and Horizontal Spirituality in the Human Performance Domain. That's through peer review, by the way, and is in the public domain, so you can take a look anytime at your leisure if you're interested. Essentially, we accomplished a scale alignment. That is, we took 342 existing questions from other validated and published scales in the public domain. We added 38 questions of our own design. We shaped each of these questions on a 5-point scale, coded them in a single direction, and partnered with more than 8,200 people to help us by answering those questions over 6 distinct iterations. Obviously, we didn't count on every research participant to answer hundreds of questions. Instead, we used missing data schemes to ensure that we receive feedback on our questions in equal measure while limiting participant burden. After each of the early iterations, we drastically winnowed down our total number of items, keeping those that garnered the least number of blank or not applicable responses, and running a variety of statistical analyses that helped us to reduce redundancies and to retain questions that seemed to be loading together on an emergent underlying factor. We're getting a bit technical now. If you're interested in knowing more about factor analysis and the social sciences, there are a lot of great online videos to choose from. The point of this session has not really been to serve as an introduction to quantitative research in the social sciences. Mostly the hope has been to impart to you the impression that the SFS was carefully crafted and that its questions weren't dreamed up in an afternoon, nor were our results and tests for reliability and validity half-baked. The SFS passes professional scrutiny among our multidisciplinary peers, and that's important for a number of reasons that I probably don't need to elucidate. It's reliable, and it's valid. In the next session, we'll discuss what specifically were the underlying factors that emerged in factor analysis. This is important because these underlying factors can essentially be seen as 3 core attributes of spiritual fitness in the military domain. See you next time.